Welcome to the Fire Away Podcast. The podcast that is the Fire Away Podcast. Oh yeah. Here we go. Let's do it.
And welcome back to the Fire Away Podcast, where we fire away at anything and everything. I'm your host, Matt Williams, here with fellow host Mark Meyer.
That's right. I need a cool nickname.
You do need a cool
Marky
nickname.
Mark is taken.
We will come up. We're going to work on that for the next episode.
I'm down.
So welcome, everybody. It is September 11th.
Yes. Special day.
Very special day. Being a firefighter, I get a lot of comments and thank yous on this day, but honestly, they don't need to be thanking me. We need to remember all the people, not just firefighters, law enforcement, civilians, and everything that stepped up that day to make a difference. It's a very tough day, and we remember all those involved and really think about them today.
Yeah, it's a time in my life, probably, which is sad to say, the last time I remember where everybody seemed to be together. Such a division, and we're not going to get into the politics of it, but it is. It's true, it's a time where the events that brought everything. That's what I remember about it the most. I remember driving down 695. The next morning, I was actually a police officer at the time, believe it or not.
I was in 8th grade.
Yeah, so am I that much older than you?
I guess so.
Oh my God. So when I was driving from work down 695, and there was this crane that had this giant American flag flying.
Made you feel good.
I was crying driving down 695 the next day. And I noticed that when I got home, there were some kids in my neighborhood. Weirdly enough, they were fist fighting. They were friends. They were being kids, right? But they were fist fighting with each other, and I was angry about it. I was like, "How can you fight with each other when this just happened?" I was 21 years old, so it was, it impacted me greatly. That day, sure. And every September 11th since, obviously, I take time to pause and think about that day and what it meant. It was actually the day that made me realized I didn't want to be a police officer anymore. Yeah. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember I was sitting in 8th grade math class, and we were getting ready to go to lunch, and they said there was a special announcement coming up at lunch that we were getting out early, and we were trying to think all these different things, and we had no idea because there's no TVs in the rooms at that time, and we got to lunch, and that's when they announced it, and we got sent home, and like you said, everything was just quiet outside, and it was
felt
crazy.
Different. Yeah, it felt different, and thankfully I haven't felt anything since then, like that, which is, crazy to think it's.
And then I guess I'll give a little shout out here, but September 11th, 2011, I then had my second daughter.
No kidding. So there you go.
So we went from a somber day to something to celebrate.
A good memory from that day, right?
So happy birthday, Lexi.
Happy birthday, Lexi. Yeah, so 22 years ago today.
Yep.
So. I don't like to, this podcast isn't about, being down, but it was important for us to mention that, because it is September 11th.
I agree 100%.
So go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
No,
I cut you
good.
off.
So with that being said, we're going to try to get something exciting going here today, get you guys laughing a little bit. We're going to try something new today.
Yeah, something different.
So instead of Mark, Fred, or myself interviewing somebody and having a guest on, we're actually having 2 guests on today.
Yeah.
And we're going to let them interview each other.
Girl power.
And I got to say, the one of these guests, thank God she was at the car wash, because we used her to reach all the roofs of the vans.
Yeah.
Especially those tall vans.
Yeah, we did. We had a couple 12-foot ladders to help her, but who's bringing in the booster seat for the podcast? So our PMO team is going to be on our employee spotlight today.
Yes, very excited. Can't wait. Like I said, something new. They're going to interview each other.
Yeah. So listen, we're not professionals at this, right? All. So it's not as I like to think we make it sound easy, but you're going to get to hear some struggles.
Yes.
So it's going to be, they're going to play out this whole interview process with one another, and
they're going to feel the struggles that we felt when we first started.
Yeah. And one of the things we did that I think is going to make this really fun is we actually wrote the questions for them.
And they have no idea.
They have no idea. They have not seen the questions or the stories that we have asked them to ask each other about.
They have no idea what kind of investigator you are.
No. I dug in deep. I reached out to husbands and friends and family and tried to dig some dirt up on them. And so Amanda Drury and Elizabeth Adkins, yes, our PMO team is going to do an employee spotlight one-on-one with each other coming up here on episode 5 of Fire Away. This is awesome.
I
man.
cannot wait.
Nope, it's going to be super fun.
And bring something up that Antonio started. We're going to credit him. I'd like to thank all of our Fireflies for listening.
Yeah, Fireflies. We're going to see if that catches on. I'm not buying in yet, but we'll see. So
It's going to catch.
yeah. So without further ado, let's jump into our employee spotlight this week.
Welcome, Elizabeth and Amanda.
Introducing yourselves and go ahead and talk about what you guys do. How long you been what PMO stands for.
So, I'm just supposed to talk about myself like right now?
Just whoever wants to start, say, "Hey, I'm Amanda.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I'm Liz. We are your PMO." You know what I mean?
All right.
That's not us.
You can always say, "Thanks, guys." And we're going to introduce you to come in and then start.
So you, okay.
Either way.
I'm scared.
You go first.
No, rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, fucker.
Okay.
Oh, see? First bleep. Well, thanks for having us. I'm Amanda.
I am Liz,
We are the PMO
Project
Team.
Management Office.
part of
Mm-hmm.
What does it stand for?
Project Management Office.
Mm.
Am I supposed to ask her questions now?
So we're just playing. This is gonna be a rough.
Is this real or fake?
This is real. We're recording, but we're just gonna be a rough.
You're gonna have a real hard job today.
What we can do is we can play this back so you can hear what it sounds like, and you can just kind of go from there, right? So just like you just did it. I'm Liz and Amanda. We're the PMO Project Management Office. We're going to interview each other today.
All right. Well, we're going to interview each other today, and I'm going to start off. Hey, Liz. How you doing?
Oh, you're asking me first.
How you doing?
Yeah.
You
I'm
doing all right?
nervous.
Okay.
I got some sweaty pits.
All right. How long have you been with Fireline?
I will be with Fireline 10 years this November. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I was a baby.
What position did you start in?
When I came, I was in the same department. I honestly don't remember what my actual job title was when I first started. I know other than I was at the PMO. I was Shannon's mini.
You just did all things she didn't want to do.
Or she told me to do, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ask me the same questions or whatever you got at the top.
Oh, we doing back and forth.
Yeah,
All right.
that's how that works.
Okay. How long have you been at Fireline, Amanda?
I will be at Fireline 10 years in March of 2024.
And what position did you start out in?
Started out as a system service coordinator, and that's quickly progressed to supervisor, and then supervisor of a bunch of people, and then I jumped the pond and went over to the project management office.
Yay!
And here I am.
Best day ever.
Yes.
All right. So we are the PMO team, part of, I should say. So you explain what that is.
PMO is Project Management Office, or team. PMO stands for Project Management Office. We do, in Fireline, we don't really have a traditional project management team. Most project management offices they'll just focus strictly on projects, big projects, small projects. We do all things that nobody really understands. We get everything from processes to issues. We deal a lot with Profit Zoom. And then we have really taken on big projects in the last 2 years. So I would say when I came to Project Management Office, my first big project was tax exempt. I got to work closely with Linda and Barb Haas. that was a learning experience because you think I'm a doer, so I do a lot of things myself. And so in project management, you cannot be the doer. And that is hard to learn because I was asking people to do things that I could have just done. So that was my first project. I will say my favorite project so far has been the SQL Server project. That's a project that's ongoing right now. And it's going to bring a lot of possibilities to Fireline as far as metrics and data. And those that know me know that I love spreadsheets and data. So that's my favorite so far. That's actually coming to a wrap probably end beginning of fall. So I'm excited about that one. Since I am new to the project management office only a couple years, what is your favorite thing that you've done in the project management office?
For me, so when I first came on board, we were getting ready to implement the change from SI accounting system to what is known as PZ or Profit Zoom. So that was a lot of fun. A lot of late nights, long hours, junk food, prayer. And, but it was a huge learning experience, taught me a lot about myself and what I can do and what I can't do. Put yourself in check a little bit because the same as you, I'm a doer. So if I can do it myself, I just would rather do it myself. And working with others and learning how to just sit back and learn how they learn or work how they work. You know, we're the facilitators. So
Professional babysitters.
yes. And trying not to be everybody's most hated person in the company is always a goal. But when we first rolled out Profit Zoom, Fred was one of the go-to technicians, as well as Stephen Dreyer. I'm name dropping. So when we would bring the guys in to teach them mobile Profit Zoom, they were my go-to guys, and they were awesome. And they made the process go very smoothly, even though the techs probably would tell you otherwise. They hated every second of it, but they're amazing, and they still continue to be amazing. There's all kinds of balls thrown at them all the time, especially with mobile. So just trying to make life as easy and smooth as possible for them is the goal every day.
Lots of plot twists.
Yes.
All right. Where are you from?
So I am from Maryland. I've been all over when I was a kid. I was from the good old Dundalk and Essex. So that tells you a lot about me right there. I grew up in Dundalk for the most part, and then we moved to Essex. My parents originally are from that area, so my brother and I grew up there. And then ultimately, like, I left out high school, and when I graduated, it was in Dundalk. So,
tell us about your childhood.
Let's see. So I have one distinct childhood memory. My aunt and my uncle, they lived in West Virginia, and they had a farm. So my parents their wedding anniversary is in February. It's always hit or miss whether or not we're going to get a big storm or not. So they would ship us there for the week during their anniversary, and we got a big snowstorm this one year. I want to say I was probably maybe 11 or 12. So my aunt, she's crazy. She's the most fun ever. She's my favorite aunt. And we
Is
decided...
she your drunk aunt?
No, not at all.
We all have
actually.
those.
No, not at all. She's my godmom too. So it was myself, my brother, and then our 3 cousins. And my aunt was like, let's go sledding. We don't have a sled, but I do have a trough. So we can take this trough and go up this hill, and we will sled down the hill. Right? As a kid, that sounds just so awesome. So we go up this hill, we truck up this hill, and as we're coming down, she realizes, number one, how fast we're going, and number two, there's a fence, like the wooden fence. So as we're flying down this hill, she screams, "Everybody duck!" So we had to like bail out so we didn't get decapitated as we're coming down this hill. So that is like the most fond memory I have as a child.
I'm glad you're here to tell that story today. All right, fast forward a little bit. Where did you meet your husband?
So I met my husband when I was working a part-time job at the Crown Plaza. I was tending bar, and he was there for a conference, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm.
And you just
You know, if I tell you his story, he will tell you that, you know,
they always have different stories.
yes, there's different versions.
Mm-hmm.
That I saw him from across the room and gave him the eye, and then, you know, that prompted him to come over and talk to me. But actually, when we first met, he came up to the bar. It was a bar restaurant, and I actually thought he was kind of a jerk because he acted as him and his friend, and he made me feel like I was taking care of his friend more than him, but that was just his way of, you know, being his little cute self, I guess he thought. And, you know,
He got the girl.
he sure did.
How long has your nickname been Shorty? And who started it?
I don't know who shared that information. So obviously I am short. I'm 4'11".
Not
I
bad.
like to say on a good day I'm 5 foot, but someone always finds the reason, you know, to correct me on that. So I'm 4'11", and my whole life, everybody just, that was my nickname growing up. Shorty. Shorty, shorty, shorty. Lizzie, short Lizzie. You know, little Liz.
Who was the first one to call you Shorty?
That was the first one. I don't know.
Everyone needs a good nickname, so I feel like if that one stuck, then God intended for you to have that name. Why do you think you were hypnotized so easily?
Y'all really did reach out.
I was really
to
confused about this. I was
my
like, what is happening?
husband? Okay. I have no idea how I was hypnotized so easily. And so now I understand where that's coming from. During the hypnosis, I can't remember all of the details, to be honest with you, but you know, I'm sure there's video out there that you can watch, and I won't share where any of that is. I'm not telling anybody.
We will share that information, just so.
But apparently the whatever that guy is, whoever's hypnotizing people, I didn't know my name, and he asked me what my name was, and that was my name. My name was Shorty. That was my name.
Oh, they go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get juicy here. Who do you think Shannon likes? Me or you?
It depends on the day.
Facts.
It surely does. I will say you answer this question just like you answer the question to your children. Who is your favorite? You're all my favorite.
Yeah. I know that on days when Shannon has picked one of us to be her favorite,
Mm-hmm.
we reference to her as your boss.
Yes.
So whoever's being picked on that day, we'll say your boss is bothering me today. So
Absolutely.
just so she knows, that's how, when she hears that, that's what we mean. All right. You go ahead.
My turn. Okay,
To the good
Amanda.
stuff.
Where are you from?
I am from Baltimore City, good old pig town. It's where my mom and my dad are both from. I probably lived in Pigtown until I was about 5 or 6. And then moved to the good old lumber yard up underneath the bridge. I guess you can say it was moving on up. And that's where I lived until I was about 11 or 12. And then we moved to Morrow Park, and I lived there until I moved out on my own. I did live in Georgia for a portion of my childhood, probably for a good 4 years. I did live there, so I did some country living, and I do not recommend. But Baltimore born and raised, and I don't know that I'll ever leave. My husband is very strong rooted, so he fights me every time I say I want to move. So I don't know that I would go very far, but yep, I'm from Baltimore.
And what is your best childhood memory?
Oh, that one's hard. Best childhood memory. I would say when I think of my childhood, I think mainly summers at the beach. My
Like
parents,
Ocean City Beach?
Yep. My parents were we weren't very wealthy. So they didn't get to really take us on many vacations. But I had a sitter who could. So my mom and dad would not always go, but my sitter would always make it a point to take me and my siblings with them. And when we went to beach vacations, it was the beach vacation. It wasn't like travel around and sightsee and go here and spend money. It was literally you woke up at 8:00, you were on the beach by 8:30, you were there until 4, you were off, ate dinner, showered, and then the boardwalk, and then home, and then repeat. And so I am a beach girl. I do love the beach, but my husband is total opposite. And so I struggle with that today because he is a go, go, go. And when I go on vacation, I want to relax. So I will say when I think of childhood, that's what I think of the most. There is a funny story. I've always been a storyteller, and I've always been dramatic, as most would say. And so when I made friends, obviously I was a storyteller and I would tell stories. And this is why I always laugh at Gabby, because she reminds me so much of myself. Does anybody remember the pop books that you would get with like the pop stars in it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I would
like
get
a Tiger Beat book?
Yep.
Okay.
So I got one of those ones, and
magazine?
it was rock stars. And so I like told this story to this new friend that I made, that when you're a rocker and you rock your head back and forth, that the blood would rush to their this little girl believing this. And it was like, my mom was so horrified at me. So yeah, that's just a little bit of how I was as a kid. So when Gabby tells stories, I just laugh because she's like me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was a long way around to that, but God.
All right. So you met your husband in high school.
I did. I was 14. I actually liked his friend. We had French together, and he had a car. And, I was a freshman. He was a junior, I think, at the time. And I liked his friend, and I saw him a couple times, but never really like paid attention, obviously, because I was focused on his friend. And then one day I got an AIM message from, and I'm going to drop this because he will just love me for this, because he's going to listen to this episode. I'm a bad mofo 83 was his name. And my screen name was you know I'm a cutie 01.
Was that QT?
I don't remember. I think it was cutie spelled out. It might have had an additional E. But anyway, he hit me with the sup, and the rest was history. So we've been together since I was 14. He was 16 at the time. And yeah, he'll be 40 this year. And I'll be 37. So long time.
So speaking of 16, what happened on your sweet 16th birthday? You fell off of Jesse's bed and thought you were paralyzed. I need to hear some more about that.
So first of all, it was supposed to be a surprise. So I'm glad my mom's not listening to this, because she still to today thinks that it was a surprise 16.
Well,
it was not. He had to tell me, because we were wrestling around, because that's what teenagers do. And when I say wrestle, we were actually wrestling. and his friends were there, and I did something to him, and he pulled me off of the bed. And mind you, I'm head down, feet up, and I got this really sharp pain in my forehead. And then when I tell this, he loves to tell this story, so I know why he told you to ask this question. But I started screaming because I couldn't like feel like my legs. I don't even remember. I just remember their faces. They backed out of the room, and I remember him saying to his best friend, "Shit, beep. She has her party tonight." So he gets down on the floor, and he's all up in my face, and he's like looking, and he's like, "I think you have an ingrown hair." He swears to this day that it was ingrown hair, but I will say any amount of money that it was not. And so he just loves to. I was fine. I made it to my sweet 16. I acted surprised. My mom still thinks that it's a surprise. So the rest is history.
Hilarious. Okay, so the producers spoke with Jesse and said you have some fears we should know about.
I have a metaphobia. I have a fear of vomit. I do not
I did know that.
like to vomit. I do not like to see people vomit. I go in full panic mode, which will probably be why most will refer to me as a germaphobe, a hypochondriac, all of those things. It all plays together. But I also have a fear of clowns. I do not like clowns. It is when I was a kid, when I spent that time living in Georgia. I have two older brothers who were horror fans, and they forced me to watch it, and then left me to my own resources at 5 years old. So I am terrified, all things terrified.
If given the opportunity... Oh, this would be your best day ever. If given the opportunity to be the boss for a day, what is the first thing you would do?
What every good boss does, buy people lunch. You got to get your people to like work, give them an incentive. I would not buy pizza though. I wouldn't have a pizza party. I'd buy like good stuff. No, in all seriousness, I don't know. That's a good question. Like, am I a nice boss, or am I like wanting to come in and just like use the day for what it's,
You're like,
that one chance, like the genie, you get three wishes. I don't know.
I would not want to be the boss for the day.
Well, I did not want to be the boss for the day. That's why I came to the PMO.
Okay. So what is the most embarrassing thing you have ever done?
Most embarrassing thing I've ever done. Okay. When I was 16 years old, 16 or 17, I had my license. I had my own car. My dad is a mechanic. So, just like every mechanic's daughter, you want to be like self-sufficient. You want to know like how to take care of your vehicle. In all reality, I did not know how to take care of my vehicle. I was horrible at it. I needed oil because I had an old 95 Saturn, and I said, I'm going to go up to the auto store and get oil for my car. So I did. I came home, and my dad was not home at the time. My mom was, and I popped my trunk or my hood, and I started looking around to see where like the oil was supposed to go, because I had no clue where the oil was supposed to go. But I remember that when you check the oil, you pull out the little dipstick thingy and you check it and you put it back. And so I was like, well, it has to go here, right? It has to go where you check for the oil. So I take the oil and I open it up and I try to pour the oil into the little dipstick thing, and it started going everywhere. So then I'm like, well, this, so I yell for my mom. She comes out and I'm like, do we have a funnel? Like, one of them funnels. And she's like, yeah, I think so. I was like, can I have it? And she's like, yeah. So she comes out. So mind you, picture it, right? Me and my mom in front of the car. the oil in hands and the funnel, and we are both pouring the oil in the funnel into where you check the oil, and my dad pulls up. There's oil everywhere. And he says, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "We're changing my oil in my car, or adding oil to my car." And he was like, "That is not where the oil goes." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "It goes here." And he shows, and I was like, it all connected and made sense, obviously. So when I turned on the car, the whole neighborhood was full was smoke. And he told me pretty much, like, don't ever do anything to your vehicle again, because, you know, I obviously didn't know what I was doing.
So I probably have a laundry list of embarrassing things that I've done, just because it just is how my life runs. But I do have one specifically. When I was a kid, I was a teenager, and I had started working my first job, and it was at Dairy Queen, and it was my best friend's parents owned the Dairy Queen. So her mom sent me up to the grocery store. She said, "Elizabeth, can you go get me a head of cabbage?" And no, I'm sorry, reverse that. "Can you go get me a head of lettuce?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I go up to the store, and I go get this head of lettuce, and I come back and I give it to her, and they both start laughing at me, and I'm like, "What? You told me to go get a head of lettuce?" And I'm sure you know where I'm going with this now. I got a head of cabbage and not a head of lettuce. And to this day, this story has never lived down, because they just thought it was the funniest thing ever that I didn't know the difference between a head of lettuce and a head of cabbage. But in my defense,
They look the same.
they do. And I was 14. What do I know about lettuce and cabbage? And
I
it's
wouldn't
all
have made
greenery.
fun of you.
All right. So if you had the chance to go back and start again, what age would you choose?
Start again, I would say, I'll say 14. I don't know where most people will go with this. No, and it's not, because, you know, that's where I met my husband, because I wouldn't trade him in for the world. But I was not very engaged with high school. So I wish that I was more engaged. My job for school was to get in and get out.
Same.
I still hear to this day that I was not very friendly. I was just like, I wasn't the most popular. I wasn't the most friendly. I did have my group of friends, obviously. But I didn't really enjoy it. I enjoyed it more towards senior year, because I had formed relationships with other people. I had been part of the dance team, things like that. I had pretty cool friends by the end of it. We had a pretty awesome senior week. Kelly was part of that. Shout out Kelly. That was very memorable for me. But yeah, I would have probably enjoyed my I would say my freshman, sophomore year a little bit more. So yeah.
All right, well, it's story time.
I'll say I already flipped over yours.
So you did share with us about the time you added oil to your very first car.
Yeah.
But I would love for you to share what life has been like navigating type 2 diabetes. The good, the bad, the ugly.
It's not fun. Until probably this year to probably, I would say this last year, I was in denial. I didn't really know what it did, what it affected, why my eyes were getting so bad. I always thought it was just because I was staring at a screen all day, which probably does contribute a little bit, but I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes in 2016. You have your talk with your doctor, you leave, you think you're going to make all these changes, and you don't, and then you come back and you have diabetes. Type 2. There is a stigma around type 2 diabetes. I've been heavy all my life, so obviously the first thing that people think when they think type 2 is that, well, it's because you don't eat right and you don't exercise and you don't do all of those things. And I kept it quiet for most probably up until recently. I checked my blood sugar when nobody was looking. Nobody really knew. And so until recently, I didn't really know much about it. I thought, it's just something you live with and you have high sugar. But my sugars were really high probably 6 months ago, like to the point where they were like 300s, and like I couldn't get them down. So I finally went to the doctor, and she was like, no, this is not good. Like you can go into kidney failure. And so then at that point I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? And so then I started doing my own research and realizing how important it is. And so good old health insurance has not made it easy, but you don't realize how important your health is until you have some type of condition. When you go to the doctor and you're just overall healthy, it is, it's just another doctor's visit. But when you have something that you have to manage and control, it can be hard. And so I've recently had to accept the fact that I needed help. And with my emetophobia, I do not take medicine because I'm scared to vomit. And so like if a doctor prescribes me something, I'm like, yeah, thanks. And then I just never take it. So I started with actually Trulicity, which is like one of those weight loss medicines that most people are on. And I actually did really well with that until I upped like the last dosage that I was on, and it made me really sick. And so then I got off of that. And then I was just like, look, I'm going to need insulin. So I'm currently on insulin, and I'm currently, on Jardiance. And so, yeah. Yep. So yeah, diabetes is hard. So if you have type 2 diabetes, just know that you're not alone. There's actually a lot of people that have it, and not many people will know. So, yeah, there's that. All right. Let's talk about the last 2 years.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
Okay.
COVID.
Yeah. So the last 2 years has been the hardest 2 years of my life, and the most rewarding at the same time. So obviously the last 2 years consisted of COVID. COVID just, along with not only myself, but many people, it wrecked, our marriage, essentially. And I don't want to say wrecked, but it blew up a lot of things that were just hiding underneath of the surface. When you're stuck in a house and you can't go anywhere, you really find out, a lot about the person that you said I do to. There's ways you can, escape home life. You can stay busy. You can work all those long hours. Well, guess what? When the world shuts down, you can't do that. So, sorry, I got sidetracked there. So it was just a lot of things that were discovered, and finding new ways to learn to make a choice every day to love one another is really what it boiled down to. A lot of therapy, a lot of prayer. And for the most part, I don't want to say for the most part, I mean, absolutely where we were prior to that, I would never want to go back to who we were as a married couple, to who we are today. You think that you are going around with all your masks on and you're hiding everything, and you think you're doing a great job at that until, it's brought to your attention that, hey, you got some stuff going on here that's being noticed at work. And, then your whole world's like, oh, so I'm not as good at putting that mask on as I thought I was. Okay. But now today I have learned a lot about myself. I think as moms and women, we want to do it all and think that we can do it all. So we hide a lot and we put on different masks just to get through the day. So I really had to find myself in that period of time. I mean, I had a choice, we had a choice. We could choose to not be together, or we could choose to fight and stay in our marriage, which is what we chose. So today I am a different woman than I was especially when I walked through the doors here at Fireline. Totally different person. I went from being a single mama of 3 kids to now married with an additional kid. So it's been a long road.
Interesting one at that.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you for sharing your most intimate parts there. And I guess great job.
Yes, thank you for sharing. This was fun. This was
So
fun.
distracted right now.
Yes,
I got
I'm sorry.
ADHD, so just so you know. Before we wrap up, we like to ask the same question to all of the guests. So what would Liz today say to Liz day 1 at Fireline?
Liz today would say to myself at day 1 at Fireline to relax and to not think that I know everything, not be defensive when someone is coming with you with not necessarily criticism, but a critique, and to just really sit back and enjoy the ride.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you the same question. What would this Amanda say to the Amanda who started here 10 years ago?
You will be here longer than you were at your last job, which felt like an eternity. But take it all in, learn, ask questions. Don't be afraid to be the biggest voice in the room. And soon you'll have a mentor who's great. So just hang on. Stay the course.
Yes.
Hopefully you'll retire from here.
Same.
And
Peace out.
Yeah. See you later.
And that wraps up another episode of the Fire Away podcast, where we fire away at anything and everything. I'd like to thank all of our Fireflies for listening, and also a reminder to follow us on Instagram at fire_away podcast, and more importantly, on Apple Podcast. Hit that plus button at the top so we know you're following, and it'll send you reminders for every episode. Thanks again, and see you next time.